Good evening. Mayor Helen Tran here. I call to order a special meeting of the Mayor and City Council at 5:52 p.m. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here, and thank you to those everyone viewing remotely. Madam City Clerk, please call for the roll.
Member Alexander and Mayor Tran.
Thank you. Moving on to public comments.
First speaker is Treasurer Ortiz.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Dr. Treasurer Ortiz. So I appreciate you guys being here tonight in this quorum, which is a Brown Act covered special meeting that you have charged residents and the public $75 a piece to attend. And that's a violation. You cannot charge people to come to meetings. In June of 2022, you agendized the State of the City address. And Councilman Sanchez, you were so poignant in the fact that this was a limited budget event, not to exceed $2,000. And none of you know how much this costs. Staff time has been used. You have taken sponsorship. Helen, your whole quote that you gave was that this wasn't gonna be a sponsored event. This was a time for the community to connect. You have excluded the community. Tonight, Arroyo High School is graduating. Cajon High School is graduating. A family of four would have cost $300 to be here. That's wrong. Why, council? Why, mayor, do you not care? Why would you disenfranchise anybody from wanting to be a part of their own State of the City address, of be able to be with their own elected officials? Helen, you sent this out on your re-election campaign with a button to also donate to you. What are we doing? All of these things are violations. Everything that we should be trying to do as a community is to bring us together in a place where less than 10% of people vote, where 50 to maybe 10 to 40 people show up per meeting. And this is what we get. And if it really wasn't, as you guys said earlier, if it wasn't for Councilwoman Calvin, you wouldn't even have a meeting agendized tonight. You're selling alcohol at a public event, at a public meeting. Can you tell us where the money's going? Can you tell us where the $75 per person is? Can you tell us how much each of the sponsors is? Because we're gonna do public records for everything. And you can deny emails and not follow up, but you cannot revoke the public record, and this is in the record. So council, I just ask you to help refund everybody tonight.
Thank you.
Do right by us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time's up. Thank you so much. Next speaker.
We had speaker slips for Lydia Zavala, Georgia Al, and Dr. Vo. They're not present at the moment. We did ask for an announcement to be made outside.
That concludes our meeting at 5:56 p.m. And now we will, we have the next item at 6 p.m., which is the State of the City address. Thank you.
All right, so good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2024 San Bernardino State of the City presented by TransTech. My name is Jeff Kraus, and I am the Public Information Officer here at the City of San Bernardino. We have a wonderful program ahead for you this evening. First, would you please rise for the singing of our national anthem to be performed by Latrice Christine.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets crackling, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Latrice. That was fantastic. Wonderful. Whew, we are off to a wonderful start tonight. So the city of San Bernardino acknowledges that the land upon which this event is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mariam, commonly referred to as the Serrano people. Our histories and stories are intertwined in this space, and by sharing them in culturally appropriate ways, we hope to honor and celebrate our indigenous neighbors and partners. We'd also like to take a moment and recognize our event sponsors for this evening, who played a big role in making this event possible. We have our title sponsor, and that is TransTech. Our gold sponsors, Best and Krieger, Vertec, the San Bernardino International Airport, and the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians. Our silver sponsors tonight are Hillwood, IEHP, and Wildan. At the bronze level, we have California State University San Bernardino, Assemblymember James Ramos, the San Bernardino Valley College Foundation, Southern California Gas Company, and West Coast Arborists. And our table sponsors for this evening are Just San Bernardino, or Just SB, Making Hope Happen, Rivid, and Mayor Helen Tran. It is now my privilege to bring up to the stage one of the preeminent economists in Southern California, the state, or beyond. Dr. Christopher Thornburg is the founder of Beacon Economics, one of the most respected research organizations in California. A thought leader, as you will soon discover, a dynamic speaker. Dr. Thornburg holds a PhD from UCLA and served as a senior economist for UCLA's Anderson Forecast School. If you read the bio in the program, it states that he is often called a lot of things, but he is particularly pleased, and is often the case, when he is called correct. And that is why we have him here this evening. So to present a forecast on the state and future of the economy, please welcome, it's our pleasure to have him here tonight, Dr. Christopher Thornburg.
It is absolutely wonderful to be back in the Inland Empire in San Bernardino City to meet the mayor and to be part of this incredible event tonight. I have a lot to talk about in a relatively short period of time, so I'm going to jump right in. I've been out here for a lot of years, you all know that, and I've had a lot of opinions over those years. And we've been in certainly some topsy-turvy times. And the last year is certainly no exception for that. In fact, the last 18 months in the U.S. has been one of the most dramatic turnarounds I've ever seen. You might remember a year and a half ago when it was absolutely fait accompli that a recession was about to crash on our shores and take us into a double dip after we just got out of the pandemic. Now, if you weren't paying attention in 2023, turns out, didn't have a recession. But it was more than that. By the end of the year, we started to see inflation calm down. We started to see a surge in overall confidence. The stock market started jumping up again. And in April of this year, the Wall Street Journal released the next survey of forecasters, and this was the headline, Envy of the World. Get that. 16 months we went from recession is absolutely going to happen to being envy of the world. And of course, the stock market now is above 40,000 points. So not bad for a year and a half, as the case may be. Now, of course, none of this is right. This, of course, is all narrative. It's not what actually has happened over the course of the last year. And it reminds me of one of my favorite expressions, that an economist is an expert who will know tomorrow, while the things he predicted yesterday didn't happen today. Now, as you know, we didn't buy into this recession call. I've been coming out here doing lots of talks, discussing why we weren't going to have a recession. Most of this was, of course, were fears that were being completely misinterpreted about what was going on. Right off the bat, there was never a risk of a hard landing. Look, why were we supposed to have a recession in this nation? Well, the answer, of course, is because of inflation and rising interest rates. Rising interest rates was supposed to be crushing, of course, real estate, and inflation was crushing the American consumer. But that's a complete misinterpretation of what was going on. The reason we had inflation and interest rates is because the Federal Reserve violently overheated this economy in the wake of the pandemic. These were symptoms of an overheated economy, not, of course, the death knell of this current expansion we're in. Now, the good news is the economy is going to keep on growing. There's plenty of strength based on the American consumer who's alive and well. The bad news is that because the economy is going to keep growing, for all you in the room waiting for interest rates to go down, they're not going to go down. And ultimately, the really ugly stuff caused yet again by Federal Reserve policy has to do with the fact that our asset markets are overvalued, we have an enormous federal deficit, and of course ultimately the big story in the U.S. is one of labor supply. Now for the Inland Empire, the city of San Bernardino itself, and indeed our fair state of California. A lot of news, most of it negative about our fair economy, but I can tell you right now the state's economy is significantly stronger than the headlines would have you believe. Now, it's a different kind of growth. There's no doubt about it. There are some constraints on our state. One of the biggest ones goes back to the idea of labor supply. But when it comes to labor supply, the part of the state that has more labor than not is still the inland areas. And the inland areas are actually the center of growth in the state. And of course, the most important inland economy in the state of California is right here in the Inland Empire, and of course, based right around the city of San Bernardino. And I'm here to tell you the Inland Empire is doing phenomenal, phenomenal. There are incredible numbers. I'm going to show you pictures of an economy that is nothing like you could imagine. And as for San Bernardino City, I would tell you, there are great trends here as well, but there's a lot more that needs to be done, and I'll get to that when I get to the very end of this presentation. But ultimately, the way to get there, to get to the next step, to bring the Inland Empire to where it can and should be, well, a lot of it's going to depend on getting control of the narrative. Look, a big part of my presentation over the last few years has been about this idea that the stories we tell ourselves are not the same as the economic realities I confront in the data I look on a day-to-day basis. Now, this disconnect between the narrative and the reality has significant impact on our ability to accomplish important things. Ultimately, policies are driven by narratives. And if the narrative is wrong, that means we're pursuing the wrong policies. And the pursuit of those wrong policies is holding this economy back, holding this city back. My very simple rule, of course, for San Bernardino is you need to start thinking big. Because there is enormous, enormous potential right here in this city, but you have to reach out, you have to grab it, you have to run with it. No, thank you. Now, with all that being said, let's jump into the data. Again, very short period of time up here. 2023 was a fine year. 2.5% growth. Consumer spending continued to move. Growth is moving into this year. We had a couple percent the first quarter. Looks like 2 to 3.5% in the second quarter. This is all based on good, strong consumer spending trends. And I know the stories in the paper tell you that consumers are just getting hammered by, of course, inflation, hammered by rising interest rates. But the data tells us a different story. The data tells me consumers are having a ball. Foreign travel, an all-time high level. Restaurant spending, 40% higher today than it was before the pandemic. Here's one of my favorite statistics. Real alcohol consumption is up 20%. America's partying, people. Now, I would tell you, at the beginning of the pandemic, it was not a good trend because we were buying it from stores and drinking in our bedrooms alone, waiting for the pandemic to go away. Now we are out in public getting drunk with our friends again. I love it. Or we're in Vegas, because look at Vegas. Vegas is on fire absolutely right now. And you know, you want to be jealous of somebody else's profit report? Take a look at Live Nation's numbers. 2023, these guys printed money. You've never seen a company make so much money. Every single concert they put on sold out, every single VIP package. Has anybody else noticed how every 78-year-old rocker is slapping on the spandex for one last tour, right? Well, of course, there's lots of things to do. And as for all the stories of distress in credit markets, actually the share of consumer debt that's delinquent still near an all-time low level. Number of foreclosures, number of defaults at near all-time low levels. These are not numbers that reflect a public that is in general struggling. They're not. And it isn't just that. For all the rise in interest rates, business investment is pretty good. One of the weaker numbers, of course, have to do with residential investment. But even here, it's not quite what you think. We all know home sales are just not happening. Anybody in real estate is really struggling. But for all those low sales, it's actually a market that actually looks pretty good otherwise. Take home prices. Mortgage rates went from 2.5% to 7.5%. Home prices fell for 2 months, and now they started rising again, and they're at an all-time high level. Of course, the real issue in housing is we don't have enough of it. That's true in San Bernardino. It's true in the state. It's true in the whole nation. If you look at overall listings, vacancy rates, never have housing markets been tight. And that's why, despite the fact that there's very few resale transactions, the new home market is doing really well. Housing permits are coming up. New home sales are up. And obviously, the construction industry is busy. You can build housing and succeed even in this kind of market. And yes, right here, of course, in the Inland Empire, you continue to see home prices come up as well. In the city of San Bernardino, prices are back up to $500,000, same as about the county overall. And again, the real problem, there's nothing to buy. Almost no inventories out there. Now, the big story, of course, of 2023 was a slowdown in inflation. The University of Michigan consumer confidence numbers started popping up. The S&P 500 went forward. Go to the next step on that. You know what else is at an all-time high level? Bitcoin. Bitcoin is back, people, $70,000. Now, I get to ask this question a lot. Is there a fundamental value to Bitcoin? Of course there is. It's zero, all right? If you're wondering why, may I suggest a wonderful biography by an Italian-American gentleman by the name of Charles Ponzi. It's a wonderful story, rags to riches, to jail, to deportation. It's a wonderful adventure. You all should pick it up, right? But this, of course, brings me to the big picture. Everything I just told you is not what you see in the paper. We have our narratives, we have our realities, and when I was taught economics in my PhD program, I learned this idea of the rational agent. And it's a neat idea. At the bottom of all our models is this person who internalizes information and makes the right decision. And that sounded good. All those models worked. And then I left school and went to the real world, and I went, wait a minute. People are rational? Have you read the papers lately? And you start to recognize that suddenly these are different. They are disengaged from each other. And we all have to keep in mind. There's a bunch of reasons for that, and I don't have time to go into tonight. But you just have to understand that what we think is going on, our initial perceptions of things, are not quite right. And you see narratives skewing our interpretations of economic news, narratives at the root of economic bubbles, narratives driving bad policy choices over and over and over. This is something that's becoming more apparent. Economists are starting to lean into it. But there's nothing new. In fact, one of my favorite philosophers of all time is a guy who lived right here in Southern California by the name of Will Rogers. And he famously said back in the day, it isn't what we don't know that gives us trouble, it's what we know that ain't so. He's talking about false narratives, even back then 100 years ago. Now, the outlook for consumers, it's still fine. Americans have $4 trillion of cash in their checking accounts right now. That's 4 times what it was 5 years ago. For all the increase in interest rates, most consumer debt is in the form of a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. They don't care. As long as you don't move, you don't care about interest rates. Go back to that limited supply of homes to build. Again, Americans are doing just fine. And yes, there's been a cooling of inflation, but not a cooling of overall consumer spending trends. Real consumer spending is still up 3% year over year. It's just been a shift. The shift is away from goods. Our garages are full, our self-storage is full. We're going back to buying services again. That's the new trend. And you certainly see that out here in the Inland Empire. Take a look on the left-hand side. This is taxable sales. The enormous surge right after the pandemic was driven, by that enormous surge, of course, in overall consumer spending. Since then, taxable sales, of course, are flattening out. Okay. Taxable sales are flattening out. But again, it's only because people are buying more services. Remember, those numbers are still massively higher than they were a few years ago. And there's no better way of looking at it than look at Ontario Airport. Overall freight traffic at Ontario Airport's going down, but overall passenger traffic is now at a 15-year high. You can see the shift, buying less, traveling more. Now, you're also seeing that a little bit in the logistics sector. Some softness there. We'll come back to this idea. But you do see, of course, logistics employment falling nationally, warehouse rates starting to come up. But even with the shift, labor markets still remain incredibly tight. We're still adding a couple 100,000 jobs a month. The job openings rate to unemployed workers, still 1.4 to 1. There are 1.4 job openings in our nation for everybody who's looking for a job. And by the way, it isn't because the people aren't working. There's this discouraged workers living in mom's basement. Quite the opposite. The participation rate for 25 to 50-year-olds is at a 30-year high. The real issue, of course, is we don't have enough people. Population growth has stalled, and of course, with stalled population growth, you have stalled labor force growth. And just take a look at numbers in terms of population 25 to 54-year-old. They haven't grown in 20 years. We wonder why we don't have enough people working. Well, you need more workers to have more people working. Simple as that. Now, tight labor markets do have one upside. Tight labor markets are good for workers. And you can see on the left-hand side here, real worker wages are growing about 3%. That's inflation adjusted year over year. That's more or less on par with what we were in the last expansion. Good steady numbers there. The unemployment rate is below 4% still. And it isn't just, say, high-end workers. One of the features of a tight labor market is lower skilled, lower paid workers actually do better. And yet again, you see that. Take a look at the left-hand side here. That top line, that is the growth in earnings for people in the bottom quartile of earners. The other line is for the top quartile earners. Believe it or not, for the last 10 years, you have seen decreasing income inequality in the United States. Decreasing income inequality. The bottom quartile is seeing more earnings growth than the top quartile. Now, don't get me wrong. Not for a heartbeat has it gone far enough. We still have too much income inequality in the United States. But the trends are moving in the right direction, and that is something we need to celebrate and lean in on and continue to help happen, as opposed to running around pretending there's a crisis because things are moving in the other direction. Now, what about our fair state? What about California? Well, yet again, if you read the headlines, you get a couple pictures out there, different ones completely. For example, if you listen to the press from the right, they'll tell you California is a failing economy. It's a failing economy, people. It's because of our socialist policies, and rich people and businesses are fleeing the state. Now, if you listen to the left, you hear another story. Yes, we're failing the state, but it's the state failing the people. If you talk about California, it's not a socialist hellhole. It's a capitalist hellhole, right? It's all about inequality and rents and people having their wages stolen. So two different pictures. We're either a capitalist hellhole or a socialist hellhole. I'm not sure which one, but one of them, right? Now, of course, we have the governor. One of the governor's representatives is here with us today. He has his own view. His view, of course, is, no, it's just fine. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see here, folks. Economy's moving along, right? Now, if I had to guess, if I had to say which one of these do I most agree with, it's the governor. He's absolutely right. The economy is fine. No, I know we don't have as much job growth as many other states. For example, places like Texas or Arizona. But then again, our GDP is still growing faster than the nation overall. Per capita income in the state is growing faster than the nation overall. And no, it's not because prices are growing faster here. They're not. Prices in California are growing lockstep and cooling off just like the rest of the United States. These numbers all look fine. And by the way, our unemployment rate is still low in the state. Job openings are still high in this state. So what can explain the lack of people? Well, a lack of housing. It's as simple as that. We don't have any labor force growth because we don't build enough housing. For all the debate of California versus Texas, you see the graph on the right-hand side? That's the only story you need to know. They build housing, we don't. They have labor force growth, we don't. Not complicated. Simple as that. More housing means, of course, more workers, which means a growing economy. But here's the issue. We're not building more housing. For all the rules and all the regulations and all the different kind of things put out by the State Assembly and the State Senate, the answer is we're still building 120,000 units a year. That's it. And that's not enough, period. Now, if you look around the state, as noted, where there are people, there will be growth. And where you have more housing, where you have more people, is the center part of the state. And lo and behold, since prior to the pandemic, the fastest growing economies in the state are Stockton, the Inland Empire, Fresno, Bakersfield, Modesto, and Sacramento. How's that for a lineup? Not quite the same patterns of growth that you've seen over the last 20 or 30 years. And of course, the Inland Empire, because of its overall size, means it's just about added more jobs than any other economy in absolute terms. Now, if you take a look at the numbers here, a little bit of softening near the end here. By the way, at the city of San Bernardino, which, by the way, has grown faster than the county, which, of course, is growing substantially faster than the state overall. But things have cooled off just a little bit. But when you look a little deeper into the numbers, again, it's not because the economy is cooling. It's shifting a bit. For example, logistics employment is starting to fall in the Inland Empire. But it doesn't matter because there are plenty of other sectors here that absorb those workers. Healthcare is up, government's up, construction's up. The real issue, of course, not enough people. Unemployment rate out here in the Inland Empire is 5% right now, up just to here from where it was. Job openings in the Inland Empire are still higher than they were prior to the pandemic. It's not that, it's just labor force growth. Now, overall average wages continue to rise. Take a look at these numbers. Average wages in San Bernardino City are getting up to about $60,000. By the way, prior to the pandemic, it was $50,000. That's a 20% increase in 4 years. You can see on the right-hand side, one of the fastest rates in the state. Household income also coming up nicely. Median household income in the city of San Bernardino has been above $60,000 over the last couple of years. Not only is that half again as high, let me repeat that, 50% higher than it was in 2015. But keep in mind that from 2005 to 2015, there was no change in median household income. Look at that sharp change in the end. And of course, it isn't just household income. You can see earner incomes on the right-hand side. And yet again, who's doing better here in San Bernardino? The lower skilled, more opportunities. Earnings for people with less than a high school degree are up 43% over the course of the last 5 years. And other signs of economic distress. Take, for example, the share of the population who has a subprime credit score. Back in 2014, in San Bernardino County, almost 40% of the population had a subprime credit score. Today, it's 28%, close to the lowest it's ever been. San Bernardino's poverty rate, look how low this number is. The lowest it's been in a long time. And look at San Bernardino City's poverty rate. Just pulled this number last couple years, just above 15%. The previous decade, it was never below 30%, and now it's 15%. This is enormous social gains. Things are really going well. And that's true in the state. It's not just here. Poverty rates in the state are near all-time level. State incomes are up. But what do you hear about? Well, here's a recent headline from PPIC. Nearly a third of Californians are living in or near poverty. A third? It's at an all-time low level. I called to ask, well, why do you have a third? Well, we raised the number. What? Yeah, we didn't like that number, so we raised the income. You can't do that. I mean, okay, you could do it for this year, but you have to do it for history. So what if you raise your number and you did it over the last 30 years? What comes up with poverty? Oh, it's the lowest in 30 years in California. See my point? No, don't get me wrong. There are still people living in poverty. There's still people who need help. We know that. But the poverty numbers are going down. Things are getting better. What we're doing is succeeding, not failing. And yet we continue to be in crisis mode. And that's not where we need to be. And there's no better place to talk about that than, of course, the ongoing increases in the state minimum wage. Now, of course, it's $16 for most businesses, now $20 for fast food. Now, you might know what happens. You see $20 in fast food, and you might have heard, prices tend to go up. I wrote a report about this. Got me a little bit of trouble. Guess what? Prices went up. But put all that to one side. I don't care about that. You know what I really care about? There's something else we wrote. And by the way, I kind of passed over this, but let me come back to it. Take a look at the state unemployment rate. While it has not come up a lot, it has come up. And it isn't, by the way, because tech workers are being laid off or Hollywood workers aren't back to work because of the strike. In fact, initial claims for unemployment insurance are at an all-time low level. Okay, well, why is the state unemployment rate going up then? What the heck's that about? Well, you look a little closer, and you know what it is? It's young people. It's teenagers. Their unemployment rate's going through the roof. Well, my center, a couple of years ago, ran another report for the California Restaurant Association. And we pointed out that raising the minimum wage doesn't just have the impact of causing companies to use less workers. It also causes them to change who they hire. Look, if I'm a McDonald's and I got to pay $20 an hour to somebody, I'm not going to hire a kid. He's not going to be very productive. He may not show up on time, and he's probably going to quit in 3 months. Why would I give that kid a job? Why would I give him a chance? I'm going to look for adults. And so you see this shift, and you see kids suddenly not getting jobs. And by the way, that's where they work. If you look at the numbers, kids work in restaurants, and they work in other low-skilled places, right? So these kids are not getting work opportunities, and this is a big deal. This is an enormous deal. There are all sorts of studies that say one of the most important things for any teenager to get is work experience. Work experience, having that opportunity to learn what you need to do to hold a job, to be in the right place, to be there in the right time. These are critical skills that if kids don't learn, it has a consequence, a potential consequence on their lifelong ability to succeed and earn in the future. We are having real consequences on our youth our workers of tomorrow on the basis of pursuing a crisis that doesn't exist today. We need to stop doing this. We need to stop doing this, and we need to stop doing it now for our kids. Now, with that being said, if this is going on, why are people fleeing the state? That's the other big story. People are fleeing the state of California. And it's true, our population's going down, but yet again, why are they fleeing? Is it high rents or high taxes? Actually, none of the above. In fact, I'm going to take an issue with the term fleeing. Fleeing is an interesting word. If people are fleeing the state of California, what happens to housing vacancy rates? Fleeing, that means they go up. Thank you. They go up. Housing vacancy rates in California have never been lower than they are right now. Dirty little secret. We have falling population in the state. We have more households. Falling population, more households. That is what's going on. How can that be? Well, there's a collapse in people per household. That is what's going on. Why is there a collapse in people per household? Because people are doing so well. I know this is hard, but think about it. What are the 3 worst things any human being can live with? Bed bugs, cockroaches, and anybody you're not related to. You see what I'm saying? As soon as you start doing well, you get out, you move on, you get your own place. But here's the problem. When you're spreading out in a housing-constrained economy, well, someone has to get pushed out. Take, for example, L.A. L.A.'s seen a 4% decline in its population, a 5% increase in the number of households. L.A. would have had to have built 9% more housing just to keep population constant. They're not. So people are moving out. And San Bernardino, you do better on the housing, but not that much better, and things are truly starting to get constrained at this point in time. But there is the swirl. Who's moving out? Lower skilled folks, because they can't afford housing. Higher skilled folks are moving in. So we're seeing a shift. Incomes are going up. Take a look at San Bernardino. This is a 10-year change in your labor force educational attainment. There's been a 37% increase in people with a bachelor degree in your labor force in 10 years. 37%. This is a different kind of economy, right? And you take a look on the right-hand side. You can see the picture here in San Bernardino City itself. 12% increase in people with a bachelor degree. Things are changing. Incomes are going up. It's a different kind of economy. And things are fantastic, except for the fact that you're running out of workers. You see, the problem here is that the people who are moving in, they're getting jobs, they're doing well, they're pushing up prices, but then some folks have to leave. And that's not fair. I don't want to live in Switzerland. If you want to live in a place that gives everybody an opportunity, you have to build enough housing for everybody. And that's one of my biggest issues with San Bernardino. You haven't built enough housing. Housing stock in San Bernardino has been roughly 60,000 units for 20 years. A little bit of an increase over the last couple of years, but not nearly enough, and particularly not for San Bernardino. These numbers aren't good enough. Now, there's another thing I've talked about over the years, and it has a lot to do with what the Inland Empire is and isn't. The legacy of the Inland Empire is that it's a blue-collar community. It's logistics and low-level manufacturing base. That's old-school Inland Empire. But that world's changing. You have a lot more educated people moving here. Enormous opportunities, particularly given that there's no housing available on the coast. But to take advantage of that, what you have to do is have an infrastructure to allow different kinds of jobs to form here. And one of the biggest gaps in the Inland Empire has always been the highest end of professional jobs. You don't have finance people, you don't have information, you don't have management, you don't have professional. Why? Because these jobs exist in dense urban centers. And I've written a number of reports over the years saying the one problem in the Inland Empire is they do not have dense urban centers. You don't have dense urban centers, you're not going to get those kind of jobs. So what does the Inland Empire need to do? They need to grow up. And I don't mean that in the kid way, I mean that in the density way. You need job density. You need office buildings and the infrastructure to support it. Now, there are 3 places that could do that in the Inland Empire: Ontario, Riverside, and San Bernardino. Riverside kind of did it, but kind of not. Ontario still lives in 1962. I hope there's nobody here from Ontario. Love you, Ontario. But the city of San Bernardino, look at this place. Look at the infrastructure. At one point in time, this was one of the most important cities in Southern California. You have multiple road, rail, airport networks all connecting right here. You have it downtown. You have the buildings. What an opportunity. But you have to lean in. You have to do it. You have to build the density. You have to build the housing. I'm talking apartment buildings, office towers, of course, places that you can walk, you can grow a family, all the things that you can do. But you have to lean in. You have to do it. Now, the big picture is this. Are we out of the woods? We were never in the woods. The economy's fine. It's going to continue to grow. Simple as that. As for California, we're just missing the point. It's housing supply, not housing affordability. We need revenue reform, not higher taxes. And we need to stop worrying about wages. Wages are going up. You want to help that woman working at McDonald's at the checkout line? Giving her $2 an hour isn't helping her. Get her the educational training so she can become the shift manager, and then the manager of the store, and then have her own franchise. You upskill people. That is where you go. And as for San Bernardino City, stop mutzing around. Go big. Rebuild your downtown. Look at the infrastructure. Look at where you are. This place has everything, but you have to want it. You have to want it. You have to lean in. You have to make the changes. And the way to do that is by abandoning these narratives. Appreciate what's happening. Understand the potential. Understand the barrier. In the end, the choice is up to you. And man, I want you to do it. So, thank you very much, everybody, for your time tonight. And with that, I will turn it over.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thornburg. Wonderful, wonderful words. So I hope you are all inspired and excited about the potential of what Dr. Thornburg said for San Bernardino and the Inland Empire. Now let's localize things and let's talk about San Bernardino City. And we have 5 of the experts to talk to you about San Bernardino. We've got a couple chairs we need to bring up, and then we will bring them on up. In fact, I can do the chairs if need be. So let's bring up, because I know we're running a little bit behind, Mayor Helen Tran, Councilmember Theodore Sanchez, Councilmember and Mayor Pro Tem Fred Charette, Councilmember Kimberly Calvin, and Councilmember Damon Alexander. They will be talking about the state of the city.
All right, everyone, are you ready? Yes? Good evening, San Bernardino. It is an honor to stand before you today to deliver the State of the City address, highlighting our collective efforts, investing in the future of San Bernardino. Our city stands at a pivotal moment where strategic investments from both the public and private sectors, alongside with the unwavering support of our federal, state, and county partners, nonprofit organizations, and some amazing individuals, are shaping a brighter future for all of us. Before we delve into the remarkable developments shaping our city's landscape, I would be remiss not to acknowledge the dedicated members of our entire city council, whose tireless dedication for the betterment of our city has been instrumental in moving us ahead. Their commitment to serving the residents of San Bernardino deserves our utmost recognition and gratitude. Another round of applause. Throughout our talk this evening, we will be telling San Bernardino success stories, highlighting individuals and businesses whose investment, commitment, dedication, resilience, and service that embody what San Bernardino stands for. And speaking of achievement, what better way to start things off than the 3 local heroes who had a pretty darn good year. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. And Jaden Daniels is somebody that I want to recognize tonight. Jaden Daniels grew up here in San Bernardino dreaming of becoming a football player. After starring at Cajon High School and then in college, Jaden's success earned him Player of the Year, the Coach's College Football Player of the Year, and as many of you know, just recently, he won the 2023 Heisman Trophy.
He's here in spirit.
He's here in spirit for sure. Just a few weeks ago, you probably all know too, that Jaden was selected as the #2 overall pick in the NFL and will be a key part of the Washington Commanders this fall.
So another celebrity here in our city is Terrible Terry Washington. So I got to meet this young individual when he was about this tall, and he was knocking out guys my size. He is a boxer that calls San Bernardino home. He grew up on the west side of the city and trained at a local nonprofit, Project Fighting Chance. Although he's just turned 20, he is an 8-time world boxing champion. Wow. He went undefeated as part of the U.S. boxing and recently turned pro and is setting his sights on a world championship title. Woo! Every chance he gets, he touts San Bernardino as his hometown, and something that I have to bring up is that his coaches set the example for boxers and fighters around the world. There are boxers around the world who he competes shoulder to shoulder with, who say, "You're from San Bernardino?" Carries himself like a young gentleman, doesn't curse, is well-dressed, well-spoken, and he represents the city of San Bernardino extremely well. Terry is, I don't know if Terry's here with us tonight, maybe he's here with us in spirit, but Terry, you have a lifelong fan in myself and among the council and among the people who know you. Thank you for being a hero, a young budding champion from our city and representing us well on the world stage.
Good evening, San Bernardino. I'm Councilman Damon Alexander, 7th Ward. But before I begin, Jaden Daniels is going to my team. And when Councilman Sanchez said well-dressed, tall, well-spoken, I thought he was talking about me. But obviously not, but nice try. Anthony Partner is our next hometown hero. Anthony is the music director and conductor of the San Bernardino Symphony Orchestra. Woo! Now, one of our board members from the San Bernardino Symphony Orchestra is here. Peter Evelyn, are you here right over there? There you go. That's one of our board members. Now, what is so special about Anthony Partner? Besides, he's the best maestro west of the Mississippi. And I'm not saying that because I'm partial to the San Bernardino Symphony Orchestra. I'm saying that because it's true. Because he has conducted such movies as Avatar, Way of the Water, Wakanda, Forever, and Encanto. He has conducted all of those. And just recently, he conducted the score to Oppenheimer. And yes, at Oppenheimer won one of those little gold statuettes. Grammy, no.
Oscar.
Oscar, thank you, council member. He conducted the score to Oppenheimer. They won an Oscar. They brought him on stage, and I was watching the Oscars, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that's my maestro." He's our guy. He's the best guy there is. It's Anthony Partner, San Bernardino hometown hero.
All right. It is time that we let people know that there are amazing things happening in San Bernardino. We have a story to tell. The city is investing in our public safety, roads, parks, and infrastructure. And we are already seeing a return on that investment. Businesses are coming to San Bernardino. Employees are coming to San Bernardino. Visitors are coming to San Bernardino. And new residents are coming to San Bernardino. So, let's talk about economic development. For too long, when people think of San Bernardino economy, they think of logistics, fulfillment centers, and warehouse. And while this industry is a major source of employment and our sales tax base, how many of you would consider San Bernardino a tourist and visitor destination? Not many. However, we are a destination for tourists and visitors. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. With over 14 million annual visitors, Yamava Resort and Casino brings in nearly as many visitors as Disneyland, if you can believe that. And if you haven't attended one of their concerts up at their new state-of-the-art concert venue, you're all missing out on something. It's one of the greatest here in Southern California. Insomniac and Live Nation, I think they were mentioned earlier, they hold between 6 and 9 music festivals at our National Orange Show every year. With over 70,000 attendees per event, bringing in as many visitors to San Bernardino than the annual attendance of an NFL football team. The Inland Empire Sixers, as you all know, minor league baseball team, brings in over 150 fans a year to San Bernardino for its games and other events. And the new owners, Diamond Baseball Holdings, are planning to bring in new events to the San Manuel, formerly, well, it's the Yamava, formerly San Manuel Stadium.
Another one of the great venues that the city has within its city limits is the San Bernardino Soccer Complex, which hosts the youth and adult soccer tournaments and other events throughout the year. The complex has served at the site for the U.S. YSA Regional Championships. Their soccer tournaments and their events bring in an estimated 750,000 visitors a year. Every July and August, thousands of visitors come to San Bernardino for the Little League World Series, baseball, and softball Western Regionals. The historic California Theater brings in tens of thousands of people every year for their concerts. National touring companies perform there, and our very own San Bernardino Symphony performs there as well. Events like the Route 66, a rendezvous at Back to Route 66, the National Orange Show, the past years, the College Baseball World Series Regionals have also been there. At the Fiscalini Field, and thousands of people attend those events every year. Something I want to bring up, and I think this is a perfect place to bring this up now, is that the sky is the limit for us. We should be ambitious, and we should shoot for the stars. I think it's about time that the city look towards bringing in a minor league soccer team. This city has deep roots with the Latino community. It's a growing sport throughout the United States, but it really has its heart in California, and it's something we need to push for. It's something I've talked to with people, and this city is ripe for that sort of venture, that sort of investment. And so I wanted to bring it up tonight that we should really be investing in a local, in looking into the possibility of bringing a minor league soccer team to the city of San Bernardino.
Good evening, San Bernardino. My name is Kimberly Calvin, representing Ward 6, and it's a pleasure to be with you tonight. With highways 18 and 330, San Bernardino is the gateway to our mountain resort communities of Lake Arrowhead and Big Bear, with many visitors stopping on their way up or down the mountain. Already one of the top 25 air cargo hubs in the nation, passenger traffic at San Bernardino International Airport in the past 2 years has grown from 0 passengers to 20,000 passengers. And the last year, over 50,000 passengers coming to and from our city. Let's give it up for San Bernardino Airport. Thank you to Breeze Airways for realizing the opportunity here in San Bernardino, and the leadership team at the airport for turning the former Norton Air Force Base into an economic dynamo. In addition to the opening of the 432-room hotel at Yamava, in the past 18 months, 2 new hotels with a total of 219 rooms, a home to suites and a Staybridge Suites have opened in San Bernardino. The 95-room Resident Inn on Harriman invested over $3 million in a full renovation, and currently 3 additional hotels, an Everhome Suites, Studio 6, and Woodspring Suites with a total of 294 additional rooms are under construction in this development. Give it up.
Shout out to our airport. I see you out there. Thank you for all that you're doing. All right, thank you, Councilwoman. Visitors stay in our hotels. They eat in our restaurants. They shop in our stores. They buy gas at our gas stations. Their visits create jobs. Mayor Pro Tem?
And when we talk about investment in San Bernardino restaurants, we don't need to go any further than the Buffalo Wild Wings on Hospitality Lane. Last fall, they temporarily closed the restaurant for a remodel. And since they've reopened in December, the San Bernardino Buffalo Wild Wings is now the #1 in sales in the entire company among over 1,200 stores.
Wow.
With their sales expected to grow this year, expected to grow from just over 5 million last year to over 8 million in the coming year. And so we want to congratulate and recognize the general manager, Jim Fraser, who is here with us tonight, I'm told. So we want to give him a round of applause. Where's Jim? Here you go, Jim. Great, good job out there. In the coming months, we will see a new Chick-fil-A, a Chipotle, a Panera Bread, and a Dutch Brothers Coffee. Each one of these are industry leaders, and when they go into a market, others follow.
Well said, Mayor Pro Tem. So, San Bernardino is not only a logistics town. San Bernardino is not only a tourist and visitor destination. San Bernardino is a college town. Between Cal State San Bernardino and San Bernardino Valley College, we are home to over 29,000 college students. Wow. Being a college town is significant for many reasons. College and universities are referred to as anchor institutions. They are large employers. They are very stable. Their presence attracts other businesses. They have a large economic multiplier effect on a community like San Bernardino. And they have lots of students. Is that Councilmember?
Yes, and before I start, I don't know if I learned this from you, Chris, or from some other economist who gave us half a dozen speeches to the council, but these institutions have what they call a long shelf life. These aren't businesses that fall out of favor and trends and go away. These are places that are here. Their character is driven by their location. So places like Valley College, places like Cal State San Bernardino are partners. They're not leaving, and the more the city of San Bernardino works with them, the more fruit that relationship will bear. So students are a dynamic part of any community, and they add to this city's energy. Having a steady flow of recent graduates is something that many employers are looking for when deciding where to locate their business. More importantly, educating and graduating our local students has a transformative effect economically on the students and their families and future generations. Sometimes you look at generations that are well-to-do, and much of that generational wealth was built when that first family member went to college 2 generations ago. They buy the home, they are able to invest in their family and preceding generations, and those kids go off to college, and they're able to build off of their parents' and their grandparents' successes. Universities and educational institutions do that. They build those founding blocks to, again, generational wealth. So with nearly 11,000 students at San Bernardino Valley College, is part of the San Bernardino Community College District, who recently released an economic impact report. So I'd like to share several key statistics from that report. First, over 75% of Valley College students are local to San Bernardino. And speaking to education being a transformative for a student and their family, a Valley College graduate earns on average nearly $9,000 more per year than someone with just a high school diploma. That goes to show you, again, I cannot emphasize enough, the transformative effect of these long shelf life institutions that are part of San Bernardino. So the more we can do to partner with them and champion their cause, the city's better off.
Job training is another important part of community college. The Community College District has announced that they have received $3 million from the Federal Economic Development Administration to build a new workforce development training center near the airport of Del Rosa.
That's good.
That's good?
That's good.
That's good. Along with $1.1 million from the district, this facility will help bring up the existing center to provide training for construction of trades as well as advanced manufacturing. The local trained and skilled workforce pipeline was expected to lead the creation of approximately 500 new jobs. Hopefully some of them jobs are in robotics, because robotics is coming, AI is coming, it's coming, it's going to be here. Congratulations to San Bernardino Valley College and the Community College District with Dr. Is the chancellor here? Dr. Diane Rodriguez, is she here? No? We'll give her a hand because she's great. And the new president, Dr. Gilbert J. Contreras, who begins on July 1st at Valley College.
Our own Cal State, San Bernardino,
Yes.
and its nearly 19,000 students have no shortage of success stories either. This year, Cal State San Bernardino, and I think it's actually California State University at San Bernardino, CSUSB, ranked number 4 out of 1,429 colleges and universities in the nation for social mobility.
Right.
Education can be life-changing, and for the 3,711 students that just graduated last week, and the 7,621 alumni that are currently living and working in San Bernardino, the opportunity is right here in San Bernardino.
Along with that, we're excited that the new Masters of Science of Physician Assistance program is now accepting applications, with the first cohort to begin on campus in August of next year. So this program has been in the making and will provide a huge boost to address the healthcare staffing shortage that the Inland Empire faces. Already designated a Community National Center for Cybersecurity Education by the National Security Agency, Cal State San Bernardino's Cybersecurity Center was awarded its tech workforce to continue to develop local cybersecurity workforce.
Early next year, Cal State University San Bernardino will be opening its $126 million Performing Arts Center.
Wow.
This facility includes a state-of-the-art 500-seat performing arts theater that will provide a venue for campus and community theater and music performances. And we must congratulate the Coyotes men's basketball team for reaching the Division II Final Four for the second year in a row. It truly is wonderful having such a transformative university as Cal State San Bernardino in our city. Congratulations to President Morales, Provost Mohammed, and everyone at Cal State San Bernardino.
So, as you all know, San Bernardino is a major logistics hub. It is becoming a destination for visitors. It is a college town. What else? Green tech is coming to San Bernardino. 2 months ago, Tesla announced that they are coming to San Bernardino, building a new collision center on Orange Show Lane. This is the first collision center in the Inland Empire, with the closest one currently being in Aliso Viejo, San Juan Capistrano, and Santa Monica. They will employ over 90 employees and will help serve the ever-growing number of Teslas in the region. We look forward to the 30,000 square foot facility that's due to open in early 2025.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Everyone hearing investments going on in San Bernardino? Yes? That's not all. How many of you heard of Rivid? If you haven't, you will soon. Rivid is an electric motorcycle manufacturer that has built their North American production and assembly plant right here on 5th Street in San Bernardino. Woo! That's right. Rivid had many choices to build their facility in California, yet they chose San Bernardino. Woo! Complete with a removable battery, you can commute to work each day. And when you arrive to work, you just disconnect the battery from the bike and wheel it into your office and charge all day. How cool is that? Rivid is now fully operational at their 38,000 square foot facility and are already eyeing the adjacent 38,000 square foot building. They are expected to eventually employ as many as 500 employees in our city. We are looking forward to their official grand opening very soon. I'd like to ask the founders of Rivid to please stand up because I see you. You're here in our room.
When?
And they're here to attend. Please, yes. That is a warm welcome to San Bernardino. Councilmember Sanchez?
The attraction and retention and expansion of business in San Bernardino is critical to the growth and vitality of our city. That's why this city council has approved the expansion of our economic development department. In addition to a new director coming on board, the city is investing in additional economic development staff to engage with potential new businesses that want to invest and start in San Bernardino, identifying available properties and helping local businesses stay and grow in San Bernardino. Economic development is about jobs. It's about building upon the existing business activity hubs on hospitality, Yamava, the airport, and Cal State San Bernardino, Valley College, and of course, downtown San Bernardino.
In San Bernardino, economic development is also about housing. And as Dr. Thornburg has already mentioned, we must consider density at all times. Right, Doctor? More market rate housing, more affordable housing, more senior housing, and more student housing. To help address the need for additional housing, the council, working with California Department of Housing and Community Development, recently approved our new housing element, which rezones the city to accommodate 8,123 more housing units, or approximately 25,000 new residents. Councilmember?
Thank you. And now that the city is not a home, we all know that we're not a home builder, but we are working very hard to bring home builders to our city. Home builders of homes, condos, and apartments right here in the city of San Bernardino. We are happy to report there are currently 1,334 new housing units either in development or under construction in San Bernardino. This includes market rate, senior, and affordable housing. And this does not include the many accessory dwelling units that are being built. In fact, building activity in San Bernardino is at an all-time high. In the past 2 years, the city has issued a record 11,057, that's 11,057 building permits. So there's a lot of building going on right here in San Bernardino.
So there's a lot of economic activity and builder activity in the city of San Bernardino. However, investors will only keep coming as long as the planning and building process is efficient. For a while, it's what kept builders away. But now that the city has refocused on investing in our planning department, we see those businesses eagerly coming back to the city of San Bernardino. So the council has invested in additional planning positions, counter staff to ensure that whatever, whether it's a home addition or a new hardware store, plans and permits are processed quickly and efficiently. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Now, economic development is also about investment in parts of our city that need grocery stores and other neighborhood services. And economic development is also about helping to create and grow more small businesses and family-owned businesses. These are the mom and pop small businesses that are part of the fabric of the city and set us apart from other cities and help make San Bernardino special. Councilmember Alexander?
That's why last year, using the American Rescue Plan funds, the City Council approved over $2 million in grants for small business in San Bernardino. $2 million. That's what we're about. We're about helping small businesses. This council also helped San Bernardino about helping with local vendor preferences because that's what we're about. Those businesses that are in San Bernardino, we want to help encourage them with local vendor preference, and this council did that. The city was also able to assist 105 local businesses with that $2 million, 105 businesses and small profits, in partnership with the Small Business Development Grant Center. Grantees were required to take classes, not just so we just give them money, but we wanted to educate them. We wanted to teach them about finance. We wanted to teach them about all the things that makes business a success. And just giving people money is not a good business model. So that's what we had them do along with that grant. Business counselors to craft them a plan of sustainable growth in their business, to participate and complete in the program with the funds to support their business. In addition, the skill set to help them succeed. Just this month, we opened up a second round of small business grants to help even more local businesses in the city of San Bernardino on a micro level.
And now that we're speaking of small businesses, let me tell you about Victor Velasquez. Not too long ago, Victor, an employee at the Amazon Redlands facility, where there was a fire, they shut the facility down. Victor decided at that point that it was time for him to look for a career change. So Victor and a friend started a pop-up burger stand in San Bernardino called Chubsies. CHUBZIE''S. Chubsies. For 3 years, including during the pandemic, Victor worked the pop-up stand. He went to community events and he did catering. Word quickly spread that Chubsies developed a huge following. In March of this year, Victor and his team of dedicated employees were able to open his own brick and mortar burger restaurant right here in San Bernardino on Sterling near Highland Avenue. And the lines, I'm told, are out the door, and they continue. Victor Velasquez is here with us tonight, I believe, and we wanted to thank him for investing in San Bernardino and recognize him and wish him all the success. Is Victor here? That's what we need, small businesses. Small business and development.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The council is doing more for San Bernardino small businesses. Using American Rescue Plan dollars, the council approved a $1.25 million facade improvement program for small businesses on key commercial corridors to improve the appearance of the businesses. Called the Paintbrush Program, grants between $10,000 and $25,000 will be available for not just paint, but lighting, awnings, landscaping, and other beautification projects. A detailed update on this project will be presented at the council meeting next week with a program launch happening very soon. Stay tuned.
So last year, the city also partnered with Cal State San Bernardino to open the Entrepreneurial Resource Center in downtown San Bernardino, which will help our small businesses located in the shared space Studio D. The ERC, as it's being called, brings together a wide range of support programs and partner organizations to provide training, business counseling, and resources for the small businesses that want to open up in the city of San Bernardino. In just 6 months since it opened, the Economic Resource Center has already helped over nearly 1,400 existing and aspiring businesses in the city through their one-on-one business counseling and their diverse range of training workshops and seminars through the Inland Empire Center for Entrepreneurship, the Small Business Development Center, and the Inland Empire Women's Business Center. This is one of the featured projects outlined in the investment playbook that was created in partnership with Cal State San Bernardino, the Aspen Institute, and the James Irvine Foundation. Major players, and they focused in on San Bernardino, putting together this playbook, which we are now currently carrying out, partially through this Economic Resource Center that's helped nearly 1,400 businesses in the city. Mayor?
Thank you, Council Member. I think we can agree that there's more economic development activity going on in San Bernardino than many think. Now, I'm sure some of you were hoping to hear more than just economic development talk. San Bernardino has many needs and investments must be made in many areas. In talking to residents, probably the areas we hear most about are public safety, homelessness, roads, and cleaning up our city. Let's talk about these areas. Starting with public safety. Our residents, businesses, and visitors must feel safe and be safe.
Thank you, Mayor. Over the past 2 years, the city has brought in new leadership and invested in expanding the police department with more officers and additional staff. We now have the most officers on staff since 2012. There are currently 14 more in the academy, and 18 additional officer positions are currently being filled. We are seeing a return on their investment, and this predominantly has a lot to do with the great efforts and the work and leadership of our chief, Darren Goodman.
Just last year, the homicide rate in the city of San Bernardino dropped by nearly 50%. It's a metric by which most cities measure their crime rate. It's a metric, and the trend is incredible. Let me say that again. The homicide rate again has dropped by 50%. Overall, violent crime is down 5%, and nearly over 1,200 firearms have been taken off the street. 13,000 pounds of illegal narcotics have been seized. Dispatchers are receiving 133,000 calls for service, and yet PD is still able to reduce the average response time by an amazing 46%. Those are people who are calling from everything from a violent crime to a nuisance. Those response times, people showing up in uniform, offering help, is down. The response time is again down by 46%. And our officers are able to attend over 450 community events. The Coffee with a Cop, which many of you guys have attended, they're beautiful events, and it really helps the community feel like they have a say when it comes to public safety in our community. When we put our officers on the streets and take guns, oh, sorry. I got a little carried away.
It's all good. It's all good, council member. It's exciting, good news, right?
Yeah,
thank you, law enforcement, we're getting safer. And that's the beauty, that's the message. When you put more officers on the street and take guns off the street, things change. Congratulations to our police chief, Darren Goodman, and the men and women of the San Bernardino Police Department for changing the narrative and making us safer in 2023. But it doesn't end there. During the first 4 months of this year, homicides continued to drop, down an additional 42%. And shootings have decreased 30% this year as well. Wonderful.
In April, with additional funding from the council, SBPD launched the Peace Team. You're like, well, council member, what's the Peace Team? Peace stands for Proactive Enforcement and Community Enforcement. And being a model after success, the SBPD pilot program, which launched last year downtown, created a safer environment downtown. The Peace Team mission is to focus on specifically quality of life issues like nuisance crimes, incidents involving repetitive criminal activity such as retail theft, vice, drug sales, and other criminal crimes with our unsheltered population. We look forward to the Peace Team making significant differences in the months ahead in our community.
And of course, public safety also includes the fire department. And the San Bernardino Fire District is investing in our city. In just 2 weeks, the fire district will hold a grand opening for its new $125 million district headquarters right here in San Bernardino over on Tippecanoe. In August, we're excited to welcome a new station, Station 226 near Del Rosa. Property has been acquired and a design is currently underway for another new station, Station 227, with an estimated completion date of late 2025. Thank you to Chief Muncie. I was sitting with him earlier. He had to leave early, but thank you very much, Chief Yeager, for your service to our community and leadership. Appreciate it. And the men and women, all the men and women who protect our homes and property from fire and respond to our medical emergencies.
Thank you to our fire services. Now, Public Works. It is no secret that there are a lot of deferred maintenance needs in San Bernardino. Roads need to be paved. Street lights need to be fixed. This is priority of the City Council. So let's talk about what we have accomplished.
Thank you, Mayor. This year, we opened with the long-awaited half-mile State Street expansion between 16th Street and Baseline. This was a $7.4 million investment that included 4 lanes of divided road, as well as new medians, sidewalks, landscaping, street lights, and storm drains. But more importantly, it improves access to the freeway, decreases cuts through traffic in neighborhoods, and provides better access for the residents of Arroyo Valley High School and Trails Park. This has been a priority of the City Council on the west side for over 20 years, and it is now finally complete.
So just if I can, just take one quick second, because those beautiful pictures are in Ward 6, and I am so very proud of this project. So grateful to the council for removing it off of our capital improvement list. It was there for 20 years, and I want to give a shout out to Councilwoman Betty Dean Anderson, who placed it there 21 years ago, so she deserves that credit. In March, the City Council also approved nearly $9 million to repair and resurface 5.5 miles of roadway throughout the city, a total of 21 streets. Moving forward, the City Council last month approved a contract to evaluate the condition of every street in the city. We will be creating a new street repair and repaving priority list to ensure that future projects are prioritized by need. And currently, the city is working with the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority and Caltrans on traffic improvements at the 215 freeway and University Parkway and the 210 freeway at Waterman.
And when we talk about deferred maintenance, we have to recognize street signs are often something that are taken for granted. But many intersections in our city have dated, faded, or even missing street signs. Last fall, the City Council approved a contract to regularly replace, on a yearly basis, a multi-year cycle. This marks the first time San Bernardino will be replacing signage on a routine basis. It's kind of a novel idea, huh? The replacements are now currently underway, and we will continue.
So there are 2 major projects underway in the 1st district, the 1st ward.
He's off
well,
script.
there are many, but
He's off script.
See what I started.
He's off script.
But nearly 7 years after its closure, the City Council voted to demolish the Carousel Mall. This property has become a nuisance, and demolition, along with the acquisition of the Harris Building, helps us get several steps closer to the redevelopment of the 43-acre site. And something else I have to bring up while we're on the issue of capital improvements is the Mount Vernon Bridge. I know a lot of people in the south side of town especially often say the feds and the state, our state partners, our federal partners, must have forgotten about us, because look at the infrastructure in the city. But I want to remind people that the Mount Vernon Bridge, the demolition and rebuilding a bridge that was collapsing, took an investment of nearly nearly $300 million. The city invested a portion of that, a fraction of that, but it was the partnership with our state and federal and even regional partners that made sure that we had that $300 million in place that connects the south side of the west side of the neighborhoods of San Bernardino to the north side. Without that bridge, there is a serious disconnect, and there is a part of town that nearly becomes an island without that bridge. That is, again, a $300 million investment by our federal, state, and regional partners. So a round of applause to those people who have invested in that part of town.
Thank you, Councilmember. What we build must maintain, and the Public Works Operations and Maintenance, also known as O&M team, have been working very diligently and hard to beautify our city. Last year, O&M responded to 37,125 requests for service, up 48% over 2022. Huge. Many of these calls were road and potholes related due to the unprecedented rainfall we received. Working overtime early in the morning and the weekends, the O&M team patched 29,790 potholes last year, along with an additional 285,000 square feet of additional street repairs. They cleaned up 7,720 illegal dumps, 141 alleyways, over 1 million square feet of right-of-way cleanup, collecting 4,142 cubic yards of debris, the equivalent of 40 railroad box cars. They also trimmed 7,800 trees. Wow. Let's give our hard-working O&M team a huge round of applause, please.
Trees, 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 and more trees. The city has approximately 42,000. I want to know who counted them trees.
ESRI.
Is that who counted them? Because Lord knows that's a lot of trees. Publicly owned trees along the city's highways and right-of-ways, in our parks, in our public spaces. Trees are overseen by our arborist, Matt McDonald. Yay! A few weeks ago, thanks to the works of Matt and along with our investment in our tree inventory by the city, San Bernardino was named Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation. Right. This is a designation that fewer than 1 in 6 cities in the nation, and there are 19,500 and some odd cities, towns, and in the nation, 19,000 and 1 in 6, and we're one of them. We're one of them, and we're happy about that. Congratulations to Matt, your hard-working team of arborists that do the work and got this designation to the city of San Bernardino.
Thank you, Ernesto.
And what about graffiti? What about it? There's plenty of it to go around. But we're doing a hell of a job getting rid of it. Last year, the City Council approved the hiring of an additional crew to remove graffiti throughout our city. This enabled crews to be deployed 7 days a week and more responsive to reports of graffiti. As a result, last year, the city responded to almost 10,000 calls or reports of graffiti, with most of them being cleaned and eliminated within a 24 to 48 hour period.
Let me tell you about a hometown hero that I just got to meet recently. I had seen his work for years now. Well, let me tell you first who he is. It's Christian Mariscal. In fact, I saw him painting one of the concrete benches right outside of City Hall. I'm sure anyone who's driven throughout the city, Ernesto played a huge part. It's individuals, city employees like Ernesto Salinas who take the initiative. He saw a blank canvas and saw an opportunity to turn it into something beautiful for the city. And so he reached out to Christian. Christian has a wonderful taste, creates beautiful works of art, and he's transformed so many spaces in San Bernardino into a work of art. And also, it deters graffiti. Sometimes it's about thinking outside of the box and having someone who's invested, who's thinking, what's the solution? What's the solution? What works? I have a wall that's about 15 feet high by 15 feet wide at the intersection of 2nd and K. And the paint was about maybe 6 inches thick from the number of times it had been repaved. I mean, it was a prime spot for graffiti. Well, Ernesto reaches out to Christian and says, hey, can you put one of your draw something that's fitting for the community on that wall, and let's see if that deters future graffiti. Well, chipped off the 6 inches of paint that had been put on there over the years. That mural went up that Christian painted, and it hasn't been graffitied once in the last 3 years. And it's an inspiration to people who might be taggers. Christian actually was a former tagger himself. He has completed over 50 unique art pieces that have not only inspired but helped protect locations that are being re-tagged immediately after being cleaned up, the example I just gave. And so Christian has been, so the city has saved time, the city has saved money, because they don't have to repaint over the spaces that are tagged. I'm sure everyone enjoys the work as much as I do. I would recommend that anyone who has time on their hands just drive around and look at the electrical boxes, look at the park benches, look at the blank walls that he's been able to transform into beautiful pieces of art. So thanks, Christian. I don't think you're here, but believe me, you have a fan in me, this council, and most people who live in the city of San Bernardino.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, homeless. No issue in San Bernardino, California, or our nation is more challenging than homelessness. It is one of the most pressing issues facing our city. Last week, San Bernardino County's annual homeless point-in-time count numbers were released. We remain the city with the largest number of homeless individuals in the county. Despite the challenges, there have been notable strides in our city's response to homelessness. Collaborative efforts between government agencies, nonprofit organizations, faith-based groups, and community volunteers have led to programs and initiatives aimed at reducing homelessness and providing support to those in need.
Last summer, the city of San Bernardino launched its homeless outreach team. In partnership with Hope the Mission, this full-time team of 8 skilled team members to work in the field 5 days a week, engaging with our unsheltered community members. They provide transportation, services to individuals willing to seek shelter, access to crisis centers, undergo rehabilitation, or to help reconnect with their families through reunification programs. Homeless individuals that suffer from mental illness are particularly challenging to work with. Just over a year ago, we launched the COAST team in partnership with the County Fire Protection District and the Department of Behavioral Health to address the increasing number of homeless and unhoused residents that suffer from mental illness. Modeled after a pilot project in Fontana, COAST stands for Community Outreach and Support Team, and the team includes a firefighter, EMT, a mental health and social worker, police officers, and a support animal. This team has been critical in de-escalating mental health crises in our community.
Thank you, Councilwoman. In January of this year, the city received a $34 million Project Homekey grant from the state to provide 140 interim housing for chronically homeless men. It is the largest competitive grant the city of San Bernardino has ever received. Working partnership on this project with Lutheran Social Services of Southern California and Dignity Moves. You guys are out there in the audience. Thank you for being here. The facility will include an on-site federally qualified health clinic, as well as provide case management, behavioral health treatment, job training and placement, rehabilitation services, and long-term housing assistance. A groundbreaking for the project was held last month, and we expect to have it operating by January 2025.
The City Council has also committed $24 million to construct and operate a navigation center at the former School of Hope site on 6th Street. This campus will include 200 non-congregate interim housing, as well as connect people to resources, medical and mental health services, substance disorder counseling, job training and placement, and access to permanent housing. We are currently finalizing an agreement with the county to join us as a partner on this project and help with $3 million in additional funding. Staff are reviewing proposals from potential operators, and we hope to award a contract very soon. Last month, the city learned that it was one of only 17 communities in the state to receive an encampment resolution grant from the state. This $4.6 million grant will target a 5.2 mile stretch of Waterman Avenue and will be used to provide resources to transition homeless living in encampments along this corridor into permanent housing.
So now these and other initiatives that we have put in place represent a significant investment by the city and by our partners to resolve the homeless situation. It shows our commitment as a city to addressing the issue, as well as our compassion for the individuals, the unhoused individuals who have come up on hard times. However, we also must ensure that the facilities that are being built and the resources in San Bernardino are available to all the residents. As you may know, the city is under a current court injunction restricting our ability to enforce our own anti-camping laws. We are working hard to have the injunction lifted as soon as possible so that our parks can once again be used by the people they were designed for. That are the individuals who may not have the ability to travel, to take trips. The one thing they may have at their disposal is a beautiful park with clean air and amenities, state-of-the-art amenities and state-of-the-art facilities with good programming. So we can't forget about them. Too often we focus on the people that don't cause any problems, on the people that cause all the problems. But these people wait quietly on the sidelines, hoping that soon they will have a place where they can take their kids, where they can spend weekends. And so they are not forgotten. And we are working hard, again, to lift this injunction so that we may be able to enforce our rules and we may be able to bring these parks back to the people they were designed for.
Thank you, Councilman. Now, parks and libraries. San Bernardino has a total of 47 parks, libraries, community centers, and senior centers. These are some of the most important gathering places in the city for our residents, especially for our children. Our 4 libraries alone had over 92,000 visitors this past year. Parks, libraries, and senior centers and community centers are where family memories are made. They are where our residents go to meet friends and make friends. They are where people of all ages go to learn, take classes, compete, and stay in shape. They are where people go to stay cool in the summer. And they are where we go to celebrate.
Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. I like to celebrate. I don't know about you, but I like to celebrate. Festival Dia de los Muertos. See, I said it right this time. Yeah. I said it right. Last time I didn't say that right. I've been practicing. Miracle on Court Street, Lunar Festival, National Night Out. It's all about celebration. Summer concerts, Roosevelt Bowl. And y'all know that the Roosevelt Bowl is being remodeled. That's right. It's being remodeled so we can bring back the JCs. I saw the Marine Corps band there. I took my kids there. Hoorah. Marine movies in the park. Easter extravaganza. Liddy, your crew in the Public Works Department did a fantastic job with Easter extravaganza. Each and every one of these events becoming quickly a tradition within our city. Tonight, they bring us together. They bring smiles upon the faces upon kids that are priceless. Last year, The inaugural festival earned a National Diversity Award from the National League of Cities. Now, you guys don't get it. This is the National League of Cities. How many cities are there in America? 19,000, correct. And we won that award. We won that award because of what we did here. If you were among the 8,000 attendees at the second annual festival earlier this month, you could not help but have a good time. In October, Parks launched its weekly farmers market. Where's Joe? Joe Salas is out there, I'm sure, somewhere. Joe Salas helped bring bringing fresh fruit, produce, flowers, delicious foods, and other great things on that produce market downtown on every Tuesday. Just in a little bit, we will make sure that you get all the good produce, food that you need here in San Bernardino. So those that don't live here, Mike, all y'all, come on Tuesday. Come down there to the food market program. It has become a resident fun thing to do. So that's all I have to say about that food and that good stuff. So Fred, come on up.
Thank you, council member.
You got it.
One more Parks and Recreation program I wanted to mention. It was funded by the California Outdoor Equity Grant Program. Back to Nature provides opportunities for urban youth to experience and enjoy the outdoors. Based at the Rudy C. Hernandez Community Center, the program includes approximately 72 local activities for about 2,000 participants and 42 trips to natural areas for an additional 2,200 participants during these 3 years of the grant. Trips to nature areas outside of the community include youth overnight summer camp in Wrightwood, teen overnight camping in Wrightwood, family overnight summer camp in Cedar Glen, and day trips to other nature preserves and SeaWorld. San Bernardino kids see and experience things they never have seen before or done before. And once again, the smiles on their faces are priceless.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Earlier this year, we opened a new remodeled kitchen at the 5th Street Senior Center. The 5th Street Senior Center kitchen is the hub for our seniors meal program, which in partnership with the county, 68,300 meals are prepared each year. For many seniors, the 5th Street Senior Center is the most important social and nutritional part of their day. 2 weeks ago, we celebrated the unveiling of the 3 new Dodger Dream Fields at Blair Park. In partnership with the Dodgers Foundation and San Manuel, this $1.7 million project transformed the baseball and softball fields with new fencing, landscaping, and scoreboards replicating the ones at Dodger Stadium. Once again, the smiles on our children's faces attending the skills clinics spoke volumes about the importance of parks to our residents. In the coming months, you will be seeing more investments by the City Council and our partners at San Bernardino Parks.
So later this summer, construction will begin on a complete overhaul of the 44 acres of Seckham Lake Park, including a lake cleanup, improved walking paths, new lighting, irrigation, and a new basketball court, a new playground, and a renovation of the historic gazebo there. The council approved the $9.5 million investment using $8.5 million of ARPA money and $1 million grant from San Manuel. They're always there when we need help. They never fail to be there for us. The council has approved using $8.5 million of the ARPA funds to renovate Nicholson Park as well. Construction on this project will begin this summer and will include 2 new baseball fields. a universally accessible playground, new fencing and lighting, and a walking path. And with an additional $850,000 in funding secured in March by our own Congressman Pete Aguilar, we will be renovating the Nicholson Park Community Center, which right now sits dilapidated and shuttered. So you'll see that open after renovations. So once again, it's important. It's an important gathering place for our youth and our seniors, enjoying parks programs and activities. So thanks, Congressman Pete. This investment goes a long way in bringing a facility to a neighborhood that needs it very much.
Well, bids are in, and the council hopes to soon award a construction contract for the complete renovation of Eastside Skate Park. This investment using Measure S funds will bring back one of the most popular features at Spiker Park by the end of the year. And thanks to the external funding from Supervisor Baca in the county of San Bernardino, upgrades to Guadalupe Park, yay, and Spiker Park are all on their way too. Thank you, Supervisor Baca.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Grants. Speaking of external funding, when we talk about strategically investing in San Bernardino staff and resources and seeing a return on that investment, possibly no division in the city demonstrates that point more than the newly created Grants Division. Launched just over 18 months ago, the Grants Division was charged with identifying new and existing grant opportunities, partnering with city departments to apply for the grants, and providing administrative oversight to ensure that grants received are managed properly. In just over 18 months, the small but mighty grants team has already directly secured over $22 million in additional funds for the city in areas such as parks, public works, housing, homelessness, and libraries, and help to facilitate more than $40 million in additional grant funding. That's a whopping $62 million in 18 months, everyone. Again, a whopping $62 million in 18 months. That's a pretty good darn return on the city's investment. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. And of course, we have animal services. Last year, we had nearly 3,600, that's actually 3,539 dogs, 1,019 cats, and believe it or not, even 2 alligators. They were either adopted, returned to their families, or connected with rescue organizations by our Animal Services Department. Field officers responded to over 3,000 reports of stray animals and conducted 2,900 animal welfare investigations. And the city partnered with Loma Linda and Grand Terrace to combine their shelter needs at our Chandler Place facility. 2 months ago, the city held a ribbon cutting with the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians to celebrate the launch of our new mobile pet clinic. The mobile clinic will bring needed services to our residents, including vaccinations and microchipping in neighborhoods, parks, and community centers around the city. Thanks again for all that San Manuel does for this city. Thank you very much.
So speaking of animal services, I had a baptism by fire nearly 5 years ago when I first got on the council. One of the really hot button issues was animal services. The city at the time was looking to outsource to the county of San Bernardino, and staff and all the electeds except for one council member said it was a good idea. Council member Sandra Ibarra said, no way a city like ours needs to have its own animal shelter. We're not like other cities. We can't be contracting with Riverside County. And little did we know at the time that 3 years later, the county, Riverside County, would be kicking out all the agencies that had had a contract with the shelter in Riverside that weren't in Riverside County. We would have been in a world of hurt. But Sandra, if anyone knows her, when she believes something is right, she's about as stubborn as anyone. And she stuck to her guns, and she peeled us away one at a time until we decided we are going to keep our shelter. And we are going to partner with cities, neighboring cities in our county to make sure that we're able to make the animal shelter in the city of San Bernardino a viable option. So she turned the entire council around. We kept the shelter here, and now we're bringing improvements to our shelter. One of the first things we're doing is in the coming months, we're seeing changes come to the animal services. We are partnering with the cities of Colton, Rialto, and Fontana, cities who were contracting with Riverside County, who were no longer allowed that option. I think by the end of this year, they're all being kicked out. They are all coming to the city of San Bernardino to contract with us, to partner with us to provide animal services. So as a result of this partnership, there will be a cost-sharing agreement in place. Hiring and capacity building is underway right now, and San Bernardino residents will see our animal shelter expand its daily hours and days that it is open, which is a win-win for everyone.
Thank you, Councilmember. So, as you can see, there are a lot of great things going on in San Bernardino, but there's more work to do. We need to finish the Mount Vernon Bridge, which Councilmember Sanchez alluded to earlier, pave more roads, tackle long-standing issues such as Carousel Mall, Oxbow, City Hall, and we need to get the homeless encampment injunction lifted. Much of what we talked about tonight was not about what is wrong or what divides us. Tonight, we wanted to bring you together and celebrate some of the amazing things that are taking place in San Bernardino, to recognize some amazing people and organizations, and to grow the excitement about San Bernardino's future. As we close this evening, we want to be sure to highlight just a few more great San Bernardino success stories and to say thank you for some additional investment taking place.
Thank you to IEHP for their $20 million investment into the new wellness center on Massachusetts off of Highland. They broke ground last week and expect to be open in about a year.
And we want to thank the Board of Supervisors who chose San Bernardino as a location for its $125 million, 75,000 square foot LEED certified communications center, which will include the Sheriff and Confire Dispatch Center, Office of Emergency Services, and Inland County's Emergency Medical Agency. They broke ground in March and expect to be open in October of 2025.
Thank you to SAC Health, who in March broke ground on an $85 million, 280,000 square foot healthcare facility on Briar. They will be renovating the former Wells Fargo building in a 5-story medical campus to serve San Bernardino residents in family medicine, pediatrics, behavioral health, dentistry, with the facility to open in 2025.
We want to thank Monica Robles and the Emprendedores program for investing in our women's entrepreneurs. They teach and train Spanish-speaking female entrepreneurs in the skills needed to successfully open and operate their own business in the city of San Bernardino.
Congratulations to this week's graduates from the San Bernardino City Unified School District. And I would just like to recognize San Bernardino Unified District Board of Trustees, Felicia Alexander, who was at one of those graduations right there today. And you wonder why I recognized her, right, Mike? She's my wife, so that's my wife. Come on, I got to go home tonight. One of such graduates is Sanji High School graduate Savannah Vasquez, who is a member of our inaugural Youth Council. Savannah is the school's valedictorian and will be attending the University of Harvard this fall. Her scholarship is one of over $9 million that students receive from the city of San Bernardino. $9 million. So our students and scholars are absolutely outstanding. That's the kind of students that we produce here in the city of San Bernardino.
And of course, I think it goes without saying that we want to thank our city staff, from the police department to Public Works to Parks to City Hall. These are some of the most dedicated people you'll find, and we want to be sure they all know that we recognize how hard they work and how much they are appreciated.
Thank you to April Flores Cooper, an executive assistant in the Parks and Recreation Department. April is a parks employee by day and an artist by night. When vandals sawed off the hand of Martin Luther King statue downtown, April created a temporary new hand while a permanent one was being prepared. Thank you, April.
Thank you to Executive Director Terry Boykins and everyone from Project Fighting Chance. Now housed out of the Reuben Compost Community Center, Project Fighting Chance combines the sport of amateur boxing with education to build character, life skills, and fitness in San Bernardino's youth. Since its founding in 1999, Project Fighting Chance has helped more than 4,000 scholars between the ages of 8 and 17. In February, Boykins received the Community Champion Award from California Parks and Recreation Society.
I want to personally thank Jenny Ibarra Medina, who is just retired at the age of 94 after working for 78 years at Ibarra's Market on Spruce Street. This is one of those bodeguitas that I have mentioned as the beating heart of the West Side. It is a way of life here or there on the West Side. People grew up going to those markets for food staples and occasionally Dad's pack of cigarettes. They were willing to hand them out because the owners, the shop owners, were family, were friends, were neighbors of all the people who frequent those businesses, and they knew where those cigarettes were going. But and if they weren't going to the right place, word got around quick. It's a very tight-knit community, and she served the West Side for 78 years through her through her market, Ibarra's Market.
Thank you to all of our sponsors tonight. Most importantly, thank you to each and every one of you for coming tonight, and those who are tuning in remotely. We have a lot of work to do, but we are on our way. Like Dr. Thornburg said, go big, it's time. I also want to give a shout out to a staff, small and mighty. There's 3 staffers that really put this together for us. And our PIO, Jeff Krause, please stand. You, Carly and Emily, please stand. Thank you. There's a lot of work. The state of our city, is strong, vibrant, and filled with boundless potential. Together, let us continue to invest in our future, building a San Bernardino that is prosperous and inclusive. The best is yet to come. Stay strong, San Bernardino, and good night.